Next thing, always tell the Coast Guard where you're going. That's if there's any Coast Guard stations left. But it is a really important thing that you file a cover plan with the Coast Guard. Now when you start off, you might think, oh, I don't really want to be phoning them up and bothering them and all that. But the local Coast Guards really like you to phone up and say, look, I'm going out, I'm going to be fishing off the start point, I'll be out there for 5 hours and then I'll be coming back. And one of the big things that does is you tend to go out in a kayak and you tend to be stationary. And a lot of people are out walking the dog, see somebody out there stationary, oh, he hasn't moved for 2 hours, and on the phone to the Coast Guard, someone's a bloke in trouble. If you phone the Coast Guard before you go, they'll know you're out there fishing, there's no problem at all. It has happened with some of my mates, they've had the RNL line pop out to check they're all right, when all they're doing is just sitting out there fishing. Again, particularly at night, that's really important. So just give them a phone call before you go, just tell them who you are, where you're going. The other thing that you really ought to do is register under the CG66 scheme. If anybody doesn't know what that is, it's a way of registering small craft onto a central database. What it does is it gives details of the kayak, it tells them who you are, if you can, put a picture up and that kind of thing, and it really helps a lot with the rescue services. If you register your kayak, register your radio call sign, so they know who you are. Now you can do all of that on the website, mcga.gov.uk. Very easy to log on, very easy to upload your details. Thoroughly recommend that you do that. Leash it or lose it. Everybody who goes kayak fishing sooner or later is going to lose rods, reels, radios, iPhones, you name it, we've all lost them over the age. If you don't want to lose it, you have to tie it onto the yak. One of the commonest mistakes that happens when you're beginning out is because most people have got their rod rests behind them. The amount of times you reach behind you, you think you've got that part lined up perfectly with the hole, you let it go, you hear a splash, you turn around and there's your favourite rod heading down the bottom of Davy Jones. So after a while you will find that 13 quid, 12 quid spent on a rod leash is a really good plan. And anything that you don't want to lose, you need to leash it. But it's a bit like backing up a computer. Until you crash and you lose the rod, you don't back up religiously. Until you've lost your first rod, you're probably not going to leash it, you'll probably think it's not worth it. And then you'll lose your first rod and you'll start buying leashes. Always carry a VHF radio. Really important, and it's far more important than carrying a mobile phone. A mobile phone just isn't good enough for the kind of stuff that we do. You don't want to get an engaged signal or anything like that when you're in trouble. You want to make sure that everybody can hear you. So VHF radio is absolutely essential. Training is another thing. Again, we're a very young sport, and we're not quite sure who we belong with yet. So we've got anglers on one side, we've got the BCU on the other side. At the moment, it's only the BCU that are offering training. So although they're not actually training anglers, they will train you how to use a canoe. I highly recommend the BCU 2-star scheme. It's a really good way of getting started. Again, if you can find a coach for probably between about 70 and 100 quid, if you can get a coach to take you out for a day, you can learn so much. I mean, a really good kayaking coach will look at your paddle stroke and can teach you a hell of a lot. Obviously, get to know other people in the sport, go out with them as well. There's even some talk now about the Anglers Trust running a series of specialist kayak angling courses. So I think those might be unveiled later on this year. So it's really important to make sure you get the right training. Falling often, there's another one. Now, lots of people think you're going to fall in a lot, or you're actually not. The chances are you're not going to fall in at all. But, and it's a big but, you don't want to fall in the middle of the night in a really cold water in a kind of force 5 gale, and that's the first time you've ever been in. So my kind of rule of thumb is whenever I go out with a new yak, whenever I go out with a new dry suit, whenever I've made a big change to the equipment, as I go out and just fall in 4 or 5 times and get back on. That way, it's practice and it just becomes absolute second nature. That way, if it does ever happen and you're out and it happens seriously, you don't think about it, you just end up in the water and you just jump straight back on the yak. You'll also find that it gives you an awful lot more confidence and you're an awful lot more relaxed. There was a mate of mine I've been fishing with for 2 years, never fallen in, but somehow he was really tense on the yak, and I got around eventually to asking him what the problem was, and he said, I'm really worried about falling in. And I said, why? He goes, I don't know, because I've never fallen in, so I don't know what it's like. Well, it's not a big deal. I mean, if you just get used to doing it regularly, then it will just disappear as being an issue. again, it's not going to happen. Chances are that you probably will never fall in, but it is just a skill that's really useful to practice. Having said that, you'll never do it. That was me up at Great Yarmouth, I think, in about May of this year. So that's kind of using your skill and judgment to place an X where you think my head is. It's somewhere in the middle of that huge crowd of spray coming off the side of that ocean kayak ultra. Join Anglers Afloat. Again, this hobby is actually dominated by websites and forums. And again, really, really friendly. There's loads and loads of people out there. You can find people who are in your area, you can find people that have got a boat if you want to try particular types of boat. Anglers Afloat is a really, really good place to go and log on. Just put a post up saying that you're interested in kayak fishing, and you'll find people in your area. Or if you've got a specific question, again, it's a really, really good place to go and ask it. And if you go and have a look at it, everybody's asking all the basics. It's what keeps that forum ticking over. So again, really highly recommended. And I think finally, just an outrageous plug, buy a good book. I can safely say that is the best kayak fishing book in the UK at the moment. The reason I can say that is it's the only one. But hopefully there is everything in there that you want. And if there's any questions, I'd be absolutely delighted to answer.
How dangerous is it to anchor?
It's not dangerous at all, but it has to be done properly. The thing about if you anchor a small boat, you've got access to the bow. So you can just go up front and you can pull the anchor in. With a kayak, you can't. So if you just chuck an anchor out over the side of a kayak, that's really dangerous. But if you use an anchor trolley where you can actually move the point of attachment, then you can move the point of attachment to the bow, and you can anchor the kayak from the bow, you can anchor the kayak from the stern. If you do that, it's safe, but there is a way and a means of doing it. It's one of the big reasons I say that you should go and get some specialist training. So find somebody who's already done it, go out with them, watch them do it 3 or 4 times. It's probably the most dangerous thing we do, but if you do it properly and you get someone to show you how to do it, it's actually really easy, it's not an issue. And it is, you have to do it in a very specific way, so there is potential danger there, yes. Yeah, so.
Once you've fallen in, how do you get back on? What's the technique you would use to get back onto the boat?
Okay, with kayaks, the first thing to do is to turn the boat over. Depends on brands, but none of them are actually intended to be upside down in the water for any great period of time. So you need to get the boat back upright. And the easiest way I find to do that is to get on the downwind side of it, so that the wind's going to help you. Put your arm actually right underneath the kayak, centrally, and grab the handle away from you, and then pull that towards you, and that actually stops the kayak coming back on your head, which is a common beginner's mistake. You see people lifting it up, dropping it on their head, lifting it up, dropping it on their head. It doesn't really work. So if you grab underneath, the next thing to do is just pause and think. Again, look around you, make sure that there's no ropes or anything like that, that anything's going to go horribly wrong. Then it's kind of like getting out of a swimming pool. It varies from person to person, but yeah, the way I do it is I actually get my legs up to the surface of the water, and then I can kick like hell, move across to the kayak so it starts to hurt, then you know you're roughly halfway up, and then just roll your bubble go to sea, and it's a simple thing of pulling your legs back round. So again, it's just a matter of practice, and it should just become second nature.
Are all fishing kayaks
They generally tend to be, most people who go out specifically fishing go out on a sit on top kayak. The thing about a sink, although it's far easier to paddle, it's quite difficult to have the amount of gear on it, and the problem with the recoveries is rolling a kayak that's got all the fishing gear on top of it is quite difficult. So you'll find probably 99% of people who fish on kayak fish off what they sit on top. Any more? Oh, we've got 32 seconds left. How about that? Okay, thank you very much for coming.